Good morning. It's Tuesday, 15th of December. I'm back in the reading nook. It is a bright but surprisingly mild day, given that it is December. And I've got more parcels to unbox, so let's get to it. So this one, I believe this is probably from drive-through-rpg.com. Yeah, I think you can kind of tell from the glue they use on these packages because it's quite stiff. Okay, let's. Warlock. Okay, this is published by written and published by Greg Saunders, who wrote Golgotha, which is essentially an old school Renaissance science fiction dungeon bash game. In which you are basically archaeological sort of teams and scavenger teams raiding giant, basically the spaceships of left over from giant battles between spacefaring races that are beyond your understanding. So what he has done is produced another role-playing game, Warlock. Warlock is a rules-light role-playing game that aims to emulate the feeling of old-school British tabletop games of wondrous and fantastical adventure. It looks to reproduce the playstyle of its illustrious predecessors, but in a light, quick and simple manner, with a consistent rule set that is easily hackable and adaptable as desired. And there's quite a bit of support for this now available. Let me see. Yeah, basically published by Fire Ruby Designs, a game inspired by the early days of British tabletop gaming. So, it is. Let's have a look. The style, essentially, what you've got is a very. I was looking at it. It is quite a plain style layout. I mean, that's not a criticism. It makes it nice and easy to read. And essentially, Warlock is set within a fantasy world with many of the common creatures and beings of Western fantasy literature. So, it's the kind of fantasy that we're used to, or we've been seeing in fantasy role-playing games for the last, let's see, almost 50 years now. Basically, it's a vast default setting is a vast kingdom of men established many centuries ago. Elves, dwarves, halflings share this land, but they're very much in the minority, and goblins and hobgoblins, rival realms and monsters beset the kingdom on all sides. Worse still, the kingdom is rotten within. The traitor Warlock escaped attempts to trap him and is still at large, wrecking room with his dark magics and drawing goblins and other foul creatures to his service. Okay. And so what you've already got is you really sort of call back to Warlock of Far Top Mountain, the fighting fantasy solo adventure book from 1982. Just how big they are, and this nods to it, but it's a bit more complex in that it has adventuring skills, and you can be different character races and so on. You can have a career, so that might well be. Let's have a look. Let's say we'll go for the top one, agitator. Okay, so basically you get some base skills, and then you roll for a little bit of background as well. And I mean, the artwork itself, you have a look at that. That is very much British style fantasy. It's grim. It's kind of gruff. And it's not, and it sort of echoes that of Russ Nicholson, but without being him. I'm not saying that's a style. It's certainly a style that many people think of when they talk about a lot of the old school British role playing, because you go back in the day, there wasn't a sort of like the tradition of fantasy role playing. Basically, in the early 80s, it was all D&D. essentially, and then Fighting Fantasy came along, and you had the solo adventures. But then you would come along. Then you had Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, but that wouldn't have been sort of like till sort of like the mid to late 80s. Yeah. So I mean, even right. I mean, but the inspiration is there because obviously you get right down to you've got two archetypal careers from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So you know, rat capture, yeah, and you have a rat, a small nasty dog, and then you know a road warden. You know, utterly classic character types from a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Okay, so yeah, and the core rules, essentially, it's even more strict. That it's essentially it is still a D20 system. You know, you roll a D20, add skill. Equal to or greater than 20, success. That's it, nice and simple. And you have also you have basically the luck stat plays an important role. And again, it's possible to change careers. So when we go on to advanced careers, there we go, advanced careers. So things like assassin, bravo, charlatan, watch captain, explorer, minstrel, outlaw chief, priest, and so on, scout, scholar. So in a sense, it's a nod back to very much the 80s in tone and style. Damage is all done on rolls of 2d6. Basically, armor reduces damage. Okay, critical hits happen when people are hit down to 0 hit points, and so on. And then you've got basically, then you have when that happens, you have critical hit tables, critical, slashing. Piercing, crushing. I don't think we're going to. I can't see it, but I don't think you're going to get head gets knocked off and is flies in a random direction 2d6 feet. Yeah, I'm going to go on to magic and so on, and there's a chance of miscast. And again, you've got a list of magic spells and so on. And it's really quite nice. Nice little 8 pieces of action. That's quite nice. It's not something you normally see. Bestiary. So typical creatures here: chimera, direwolves, demons, dragons, dwarves. Ghouls, giants, goblins, griffins, halflings, hobgoblins, humans, liches, oozes, ratmen, skeletons, and so on. Right, that's all the way down to Wraith and Wyvern. So, combat is said they warning that combat is designed to be deadly. Let's have a look. And you've got advice here for the GM and a quick discussion of scenarios, but you don't have a scenario in here at all. And here's the simplicity of the character sheet. That's it. That's as simple as that. So that's Warlock. I already have the Warlock companion to review as well at some point. I got sent that sort of in error, but that's fine. I went ahead and picked this up because I wanted to have a look at it anyway. Essentially, this gives you sort of like a rules-light option for old-school Renaissance style games, and in a sense, you could describe this, and just on sort of like as as Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay very light. Since it, since it does wear its influences on its more or less on its doublet and hose, but that's fine. I mean, it's not an exact copy. It's inspired by. So that's Warlock from Fire Ruby Designs. I will be reviewing this in due course. I want to thank you very much for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this this video, please give it a like. If you really or feedback is welcome. If you really like it, subscribe. I will have more videos for you, and I'll be back with another unboxing soon. Bye for now.